Evening, all. We got there eventually. And thank you for those that have tuned in to watch this watch along with me, Adam, part of the Anglo-Italian podcast. Hopefully, we might be joined by Rory later on this evening. However, he is slightly tied up in Milan. So, guys, if you want to get involved, make sure you get your comments as we go along. I'll be here to talk about all of the football as we kind of digest this weekend of Euros action. But feel free to also ask me any just general football questions because I'm sure that will keep me amused as we go along. So I'm hoping you enjoyed your kind of Euros weekend as well. I don't know about you, but some fascinating score lines. But obviously we are here predominantly to kind of do this watch along about Austria and France. As you can see, I'm donning my favoured Polish jersey, and I'm hoping we will see some exciting football. From my point of view, I'm going to be very curious about how this actually plays out. I'm totally expecting this to be a kind of slight domination for France. However, I still have some optimism for Austria to actually pull off something in this game. So why don't we start off by kind of digesting, I suppose, the lineups, and I'm going to just share my screen now. So fingers crossed it goes to plan, and you guys will be able to see the screen in question. So what we'll do, I'll just give it a few seconds, make sure it's actually sharing on the screen right now for you guys. And let's give it a go. There we go. We are live, and I'll just try and enlarge that so it makes it a bit more legible for you guys to actually see. We'll start off, obviously, with left to right, starting off with Austria. Probably, I'd say, no surprises in terms of the kind of dynamics of this squad. A lot of football fans will probably be more renowned for the players that are up top for Austria. So the likes of Seewald, for example, Sabitzer, Baumgartner as well, Gregoritz, who's had a fantastic season for Freiburg, and Konrad Laimer, who we know from Bayern Munich. So, yes, some household names. Mateo Woba will be imperious, I think, with Kelvin Danso as well. I'd say keep an eye on Stefan Posch from that right-hand side. I think he's going to be one that's probably going to intertwine between the wings personally. I think he's more accustomed to that left-back role for Bologna, so it'll be interesting to see him. Gurich as well, keep an eye on him. I think, obviously, between him and Sabitzer, that's where I see the link up potentially. Sabitzer in particular has been known for playing more on that left-hand side for Austria. So yeah, keep an eye on those two as the game goes on. If we digest then, France, probably to an extent, predictable in terms of the lineup. So we've got Mike Maignan in goal. A bit of an indifferent season, it's fair to say, for Milan, but one that I'd say on his day can be a fantastic shot stopper. Defense, they are blessed with an array of talented centre backs, but obviously you've got the likes of Jules Koundé, who's playing in that right back role. He can tie into that centre back role if needed and potentially play it as a free. That's potentially how I think it could happen if they're on the counter attack at times as well. I know Didier Deschamps is imperious in terms of having Upamecano and Konate, but is opted with William Saliba. Fantastic season for Arsenal. So I think that's a really solid choice. Teo Hernandez as well, filling in for his injured brother, Lucas. Yeah, he's someone that he's a player you like to hate sometimes at Milan, but yeah, he will offer a bit of that offensive play as well as his defensive duties as well. And then we kind of go into that midfield, and you're looking at this, and it's quite an aging kind of midfield lineup with the likes of Antoine Griezmann and Kante. I think that's a surprise for most people, but from what I know, reading about the French game, and in particular for that kind of role that Kante does play, there's not many French players out there, with the exceptions of maybe Edouard Camavinga, maybe Tchouameni, that could play in that role as well. Rabiot's an interesting one. I'd say it's a bit hot and cold this season at Juventus, but generally he's been consistent in terms of his style. Previous summer is probably his most consistent kind of style of football that he's ever played, so that'll be interesting. And I suppose the surprise potentially could be this kind of front three, which I think are going to intertwine between them. Dembele, obviously known for his kind of Marasmic kind of wing play. We've got likes of Mbappe that will like to take on his man, potentially use his pace to burn. And Marcus Thuram, phenomenal season for Inter Milan. His kind of hold-up play and playing through his partner in Lautaro Martinez has been the reason why Inter Milan have done so well this season. So it'll be interesting to see potentially how this kind of works out. For me, the way I see it is Marcus Thuram is likely to push into that middle of that pitch, potentially to bring out Danso, is my thoughts. Woba obviously having a fantastic season with Borussia Mönchengladbach. But yeah, obviously that's potentially a pairing that they'll know each other from the days when Marcus Thuram was there as well. So we shall wait and see. But otherwise, I expect Dembele and Mbappe to potentially peel off Thuram as the game goes on. So fascinating. We'll have a quick look at the bench options as well for both teams. We'll start off with Austria, with Ralf Rangnick. As you can see, possibly you might say you won't know many of the players. Andreas Weimann is kind of well known within UK circle, should I say. Likes of Marko Arnautovic, who has had a bit part season at Inter Milan, but can still offer himself as well. Patrick Wimmer is well known as well. So on the whole, maybe not too many well-established players. And if we compare it to the French squad, as you can see, array of talented players. Benjamin Pavard stands out for me because of his kind of dynamic play for Inter Milan, can go into the middle, but also as a right back. So that could offer him some options in terms of Didier Deschamps. We've got like Tchouameni, Camavinga. Obviously, a lot is expected of Zaire Emery as well, so keep an eye out on him. Bradley Barcola for the second half of the season at PSG, someone to keep an eye out on. And obviously, Olivier Giroud missing from this particular one. Obviously, he will play a part at some point. Kingsley Coman can do the business as well when relied upon. And Kolo Muani, who, again, he's had a great season generally for PSG. Not maybe as many goals as he did for Frankfurt, but again, keep an eye out for him in this tournament because this is tournament football at the end of the day. So let me know your thoughts in terms of the actual lineup. It's certainly for me fascinating anyway. So yeah, we'll see how this pans out. I'm just seeing it as we kind of speak right now. It looks like they're about to get onto the pitch. And just a favor as well, if you happen to be on Instagram or on Twitter or X, as they call it these days, and you want to get involved, please drop me a comment on the YouTube stream. For whatever reason, we don't seem to be getting the comments come through. So please feel free to join us on YouTube, get your questions in. It'd be fascinating to talk you through it as well. Get your thoughts in terms of predictions as well, guys. I know I kind of started this stream saying potentially I think that France will dominate this match, but I think this is going to be quite a close pair up, especially with Rangnick in terms of the style of football that he has been playing with this Austria squad. So I'm just keeping an eye out on this live stream right now as I'm looking at my screen at the moment. They're all lining up. So yeah, get your kind of thoughts in terms of predictions, in terms of how this game is going to play out. For me, yeah, it's going to be a fascinating tie-up, actually. For me as well, personally, I'm curious to see how both teams approach this from a Polish point of view. We had an okay performance. Wasn't expecting the way we approached it yesterday against Netherlands. Yes, there's lots to work on from a Polish perspective, but grateful for the way that we actually turned up for that match in particular. And I know that sounds interesting for guys that don't really follow the Polish national side, but all I can say is past few tournaments have been absolutely bloody dreadful. That's all I'm going to say. So yeah, the teams are lining up onto the pitch right now as we speak, ready to play their national anthems, I'm sure. But yeah, guys, if you've got any questions about even yesterday's match, England's take on Serbia, certainly that was a fascinating tie in terms of first half, very much England orientated. They did really well. Second half, I think it was more of the same from an England perspective. Maybe question marks around Southgate's tactics, in-game management in particular. I felt maybe the introduction of Anthony Gordon and Adam Wharton even, would have been a good addition in that second half, just to break up that play and introduce a bit more width on that left-hand side from a point of view of maybe getting Anthony Gordon on the pitch. And then if we kind of think about Italy as well, conceding a goal within 23 seconds against Albania, you're thinking the worst for the Italians. However, they brought themselves back into the match with some fantastic possession-based football. They controlled it really well. It would have been very easy for them to have kind of collapsed in that very moment. However, yeah, some fantastic play in the end with the likes of Bastoni getting the equaliser first from the corner from DeMarco, and then Barella scoring the second and the incisive winner essentially in the end. But they were holding on for literally as much as they could thanks to Gigi Donnarumma in the end. So yeah, fascinating there as well. Just waiting for the Austrian national anthem to play out by the look of things now. So yeah, guys, if you have any questions, drop them into the YouTube chat, drop them into Instagram if you happen to be there as well. It'd be good to get your thoughts as we go along. And just interested to see what we think is going to happen today. I'm going to pause so I can actually breathe and get something down me. Sorry, guys. So we've just had the Austrian national anthem play out. The kids are going away, and now we've got France and Austria doing the handshakes. Hopefully we will see some action shortly. I'd be interested actually to get your thoughts as well. What's your impressions of this Austria side? Do you think they're going to be the dark horses at this tournament? They are one of the tips that I have personally. If they can get themselves out of this group, whether that be best placed, third place team in this group even, but potentially I still think if you play it against the basis for how Holland played yesterday against Poland, I think potentially they've got the edge. It'll be fascinating to see if Holland, or the Netherlands as they call themselves, will reflect on yesterday's game, see the errors of the ways in certain kind of periods of transition with the play. I think Poland really did quite well in that second half in particular, but without really offering too much in terms of shots on target. I think that was really fundamental in that respect. So yeah, it'll be fascinating to see. And I think this will be interesting. Also, we have to talk about the games earlier that took place as well. I had the Romania game against Ukraine in the background whilst I was doing work. And yeah, Romania completely shocked the books and the form guide, really. I had my doubts about Ukraine personally. I saw them in a friendly against Poland. And yeah, this was prior to the tournament itself. I wasn't too impressed by Ukraine. I know a lot of people have been tipping them off to be maybe potential underdogs, but yeah, it didn't look too pretty. Get your thoughts on that. And then obviously we saw Slovakia as well. Slovakia did well from what I could see in the end. Yeah, Stephen Cole, Ukraine were definitely awful, weren't they? They were absolutely dreadful. I really don't know what to make of them. I think they're probably one of the first sides potentially back home. I know in that group, it's going to be an interesting one, isn't it? Just reminding myself in that group who we've got again. So it's Romania, Slovakia, Belgium, and Ukraine. So potentially the two favourites that I think most people had to maybe get out of this group, Belgium and Ukraine. Maybe they're the sides that have to look over their shoulders and wonder if they're going to be in the next round. We shall see. But as we speak, they're about to kick off with Austria taking kickoff, and we are about to go. So, Steve, from what I could see, it was a bit of a combination from what I could really see from a brief kind of watching of the game. I wasn't able to watch it in its entirety, but in the last 10 minutes, it seemed to be a lot of momentum for Belgium. Slovakia, though, the majority of the comments that I've seen have indicated that maybe Dubravka didn't do as well in terms of maybe his command of the box. They got lucky a few times. Obviously, there was 2 disallowed goals for Lukaku. Can't even catch a cold, can he, that guy? But yeah, it'd be fascinating, actually, Lukaku, where he ends up this summer as well. Obviously, his loan spell at Roma comes to an end. A lot of rumours that potentially might join up with his friend Antonio Conte at Napoli now, newly installed manager there. It'll be interesting. Just quickly, for those that aren't watching maybe this Austria-France game, there's a quick cross that went into the French box, but well claimed by Mike Maignan, and they restart the possession. So yeah, sorry, Steve, I wasn't able to catch most of that Belgium-Slovakia game, but by all accounts, Slovakia kind of edged it out, really. Got that 1-0 win, and that was enough. But all I can say, if in terms of that Romania game earlier, that was a game I probably least expected there to be as many goals as there was, but Romania completely dominated that, completely deserved it. They were so strong at the back as well. Raju Dragosin really showing what we know we've seen in him for the likes of Genoa, for example, last season. Obviously got that move to Spurs as well. So it'll be interesting to get some Spurs fans' perspective on this, whether they think actually he's got a role. I know there's a lot of rumours potentially floating around Christian Romero even, sorry. So I'm just going to reduce the lighting in my room as well, so it's not so bright on my face. But yeah, Christian Romero obviously will be at the Copa America this summer as well. He's been linked with a move out of the club. I know he wants to stay at the club by all accounts, but he's been linked with a move potentially. So it'll be fascinating to see this. As we speak now, France have a free kick about 40 yards outside of the box. We'll see Antoine Griezmann gets the ball into the box, but nothing to come out of it. It's bouncing out for another throw-in for France. Jules Koundé to take this. Recycles that very quickly. So, guys, actually, I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts were. What was the best game that you've seen so far from this initial round of games? Have any games really sparked or got most of you rethinking your predictions? I don't think there's been too many surprises on the whole. Today was probably the one kind of time where we thought, actually, Romania might be decide to keep an eye out on. In terms of dreadful sides, could be an argument to say maybe Denmark. I don't know what you guys think, but I think they struggled against Slovenia. They were inviting that pressure in particular, and inevitably it did look like it was going to happen. Steve, yeah, impressed with Spain, how they outplayed Croatia. That's a good reminder, actually. Croatia, a lot of people were expecting them to do quite well in that group. Maybe rethink there as well. I mean, second half, yes, they certainly came out about it. And Spain, yeah, they seemed to just, they knew what to do, didn't they? They just completely dominated the play in that first half and then controlled the action in the second half. Now, I know maybe Rodri got away with one in particular, but otherwise, I don't think really Spain were in any trouble. I think they knew what they were up to. So, yeah. That's a good shout there, Steve. Just seeing now, Teo Hernandez getting fouled. A little bit closer now to goal now. We've got Antoine Griezmann lining up as we speak. Looks like he's going to float one in, to be fair. It's looking towards the far side, so it looks like he's looking for a target man combination here. The likes of Rabiot, Upamecano. We'll see Marcus Thuram's in there as well. Let's see, ball floated. It's cleared out by Dano. It's done so. Lima got, and there's another throw in for the French. Yeah, Steve, definitely agree. I mean, what would have happened, eh? What would have happened? I just think, is this the generation of Croatia where they've gone as far as they can? That is the real question, I suppose, with this group of players. I felt that might have been the case at the last tournament, but, you know, with Modric, the way he was kind of used, he's just seemed to just continue running, right? Him and Brozovic are the kind of men that you don't expect their legs to last as much as they do, but they just completely dominate the play. But I don't know, is this a tournament too far for both of them, or all of the aging players that they've got within their squad? I'm not too sure about the kind of future players coming through, right, as well. You did mention it's difficult to recycle with only 4 million people. Yeah, you must have seen Graham Souness's comment as well about them having only 5 million people in Scotland, right? That was quite a funny remark from Graham Souness. And it was rightly put on the spot when they kind of cited Croatia and their 4 million people as well. But they always seem to do it, don't they? Croatia, they've just got this culture going on within their kind of national game. They seem to just spill out with loads of talented players. Don't hear as many, though, these days. And I don't tend to hear about up-and-coming sort of Croats in the kind of younger ranks of the under 16s, 17s, or anything like that anymore. So has their heyday come about? I don't know. We'll have to ask Lovra, who was part of the kind of preview for Croatia. He did it with Rory, and be fascinating. Maybe one time we'll get him on the pod to actually discuss that. Differences. Scots don't play outside the league much. They are getting better, though. That's the one thing I will say, Stephen. They are getting slowly better. Lewis Ferguson is a key miss, I would argue, potentially. Lewis Ferguson's been one of those players that I think this tournament would have been a great one to have seen him play. As we speak, France on the attack. They've carved open the Austrians, and wow, Mbappe has a shot at the near post, which is saved, and it goes out for a corner. Yeah, France look terrifying on that counter. 1-2 touch pass combination, and they are releasing players like Mbappe. It is what I alluded to. I did think that was going to happen. They need Bologna to take more of their players. Yeah, this is very true. I mean, look, you've got Josh Doig, who's in Sassuolo, so I suspect there could be a quick deal there done. But yeah, I think there's some really talented Scot players in just generally in that Scottish league. You know, I think it was Scott McKenna who got that loan spell at FC Copenhagen this half season from Nottingham Forest. There's a lot of hype around him. Also, Conway, who's currently playing for Bristol City. He's one that seems to have done quite well this season. He's got himself a good few goals in that Bristol City squad. I know Bristol City are keen to kind of build something down there, get this club into the Premier League. But it'd be fascinating, actually, if we could see a few more of the Scots in Serie A, because that will potentially be the option, right, Steve? I think given the growth decree has disappeared from Italian football, could this be the avenue that Italian clubs look at? I'm sure they will be going across many of their counterpart nations across Europe to see if they can seek some bargains across the various different leagues for those hidden gems, more importantly. But as we know, it's also a bit potentially that they could be taking advantage of the lower leagues in Italy. Can they tempt one or two of those talented players across as well? They need top strikers. Adams is not international level. I agree with that. It was shown against Germany. He just, for all the pace that he's got, actually, he doesn't really do much more, does he, to be honest? And they've got Shankland, obviously, who has had a reasonable season for Hearts coming to his latter years as well. I think they're really reliant on Lyndon Dykes, QPR Lyndon Dykes as well, because he seems to have like a hot and cold spell for QPR, but when it comes to the national side, he's very much relied upon. I don't know if he's necessarily the long-term strategy, though. I know a lot of the Scots do rate him. Yeah, I agree with that, Steve, about Atalanta starting that trend. You only have to look at how Gasperini, the kind of godfather of football revivals, right? He gets these players that haven't necessarily had great successes elsewhere. I mean, you look at Charles de Ketelaere, how he's kind of turned his fortunes now. That's a permanent deal as well. That's fascinating, isn't it, really, how Milan let that happen. That's just crazy. But yeah, there's talks about Nicolo Zaniolo. He ends his loan spell with Aston Villa. Could he turn his fortunes? That would be fascinating. That would be genuinely interesting to see if he could do that. Just as we speak, Austria are attacking the French end. They're getting the ball into the far side. Is that Stefan Posch? Looks like it, but it's well saved by Mike Magnan there. Interesting point there, Steve, actually. Yeah. It's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? Is it the Gasperini effect? Is it something to do with the waters in Bergamo? I don't know necessarily. I'm just trying to think of an Atalanta player that's done quite well outside of it. I mean, you could argue Bastoni, since he made that move. I don't like the guy, but Gianluca Mancini, obviously leaving them for Roma. Brian Cristante as well, another example of someone that's done well. Frank Kessie, perhaps, as well, Steve. I don't know what your thoughts are on those kind of players. I think Rasmus Højlund was always an interesting one. Look, he was propelled very quickly within that Atalanta squad. It was half a season, and then he got bought by Man United. And I've always said this about Højlund. He is your project kind of striker. He's not someone that you kind of say, right, he's going to score you automatically 23 goals every season. He's someone that needs time. I think with the right coach at the helm, I don't necessarily think Ten Hag is the right one, but for argument's sake, what you need to do is build around Højlund. You need players that can help him feed off his game. Look, he works best when he's kind of fed through the ball, a bit like a Rashford sometimes. But they had too many distractions going on, too many things, too many cogs going wrong at Man United this season that went by. Be fascinating. It'd be fascinating. They were linked with Jared Branthwaite, weren't they, for a summer move that looks unlikely now because Everton, should I say, not Atalanta. Everton have added a few more zeros in the tens of millions, so we'll see what happens with there. Very much so. Problem is because Man United overpay so much, fans expect someone world class. And that's maybe where they've gone wrong, Steve. If you go back to those Alex Ferguson days, they used to pick certain individuals. They weren't necessarily all world class players, were they? They would always have one or two players. And if they had more than, say, 5 players added in a summer, you could guarantee that kind of disrupted the rhythm of the kind of the way that Man United approached that season. They'd only do it if they had to kind of change a generational, move certain players off because they were getting to the end of their careers, right? And I think that's been lost over time. They've just aspired to get some really world-class players added in and just think they're like the quick plasters. They're going to solve that problem. And we saw it with Casemiro, haven't we? First season, not too bad. Second season, dreadful. That's only one example of what I would class as a world-class player joining the ranks and then seemingly struggle. Alexis Sanchez is another one. Came in with a lot of hype, didn't he? I know for you, Steve, and many of the Arsenal fan base, they probably weren't too complimentary of Alexis Sanchez. However, he was a good player on his day. He was a very good player. And this is the thing. I don't think they necessarily got the best out of him. Again, stories that I've heard, I think even Jesse Lingard did something. He couldn't really put his finger on it. Couldn't really understand why they struggled. But there's something about that atmosphere that's wrong for me as well. As we speak, Austria have just conceded a free kick again. Woba going in a bit too harsh on Dembele. Yeah, just seeing it now. Yeah, he completely misses the ball. Dembele just nutmegs him, and yeah, it didn't really get anything then. So, yes, they buy too many hype players on the basis of 6 months. They certainly do. They don't tend to buy players that will fit a system or fit the team, right? They don't kind of think about the long-term strategy, and that's the whole thing, isn't it? That they haven't had anyone that's kind of grounded it out. I suppose since Alex Ferguson left, they just assumed that a manager will come in and just carry on, but it's not as simple as that. I think for a club like Man United, you need to have someone as part of the strategy. So that was the likes of David Gill back in the day. Now, he went at the same time, ironically, as Alex Ferguson. So I think that was critical for Man United, that they never actually replaced him. When they kind of did, that was Ed Woodward. And that wasn't really a man that was necessarily a strategy man. He was more of a money man, wasn't he? Subsequently, the likes of Murta, again, there's a lot of rumours, lots of stories coming out since that actually he was more interested in the buffet than he was in terms of actual strategy. And when it came to actually doing anything transfer related, he was just throwing money at the wall. He was the one supposedly linked with Anthony and the kind of amounts that he's managed to accumulate. So not just in wages, but also in terms of that demand that Ajax had as well. I mean, that was crazy sums of money at the time as well. So yeah, absolutely crazy. Steve, what do you think about Arsenal as well? What's your thoughts of the upcoming season? Rory is absolutely gutted that you guys didn't get Benjamin Sesko. Be curious, do you think that's the type of striker that Arsenal need, or what's your natural assumptions in terms of that situation? Do you need to get rid of players before you start making some signatures? I did hear Osimhen was kind of linked at one point. I don't know what the thoughts are there, if he's going to be too expensive for Arsenal. As we speak, France on the counter-attack through Griezmann, but it is blocked by Woba as well. It's starting to open up, guys. It's certainly starting to open up. We're almost 20 minutes into the game as well. That has gone by very quickly. Good breakup play there by Rabiot. It has to be said, as much as I don't like the guy, he has done quite well. So France, corner here. Oof, cleared there by the Austrians. One thing we have to say is France really do quite well in terms of recycling the ball. This is something I was wondering, actually, what you guys think about England, the way that they, when they go into situations like this, do they make the most of it? Do they, when you lose those kind of set plays, do England do as well as you think they should do? Certain sides seem to do better than England when it comes to these kind of scenarios, don't they? I was waiting for who was going to say that, Steve. Probably too early to say at this stage whether they need Giroud. We haven't seen really much of Marcus Thuram, but he's been there. He's causing himself more of a physical threat than anything else at this stage. Interesting thought here, Steve. Get the other guys that are on the stream right now thoughts as well. So feel free to add your comments. If you are attempting to message us on Instagram or Twitter, it might not be pulling through. So if I could ask you to do a favor, go onto YouTube, look for this stream, and then add your comments as we go along. But Steve has put, can't play Bellingham and Foden together. Is your thoughts here, Steve, that they're too similar? Because I think that I've got an argument to say, yes, I feel very much that way. I don't think Foden is necessarily naturally a winger at this point in time in terms of his game. Yes, he can play in that position, but it's probably not his strongest, right? I think he's much more a sporadic kind of player. But there's interesting thoughts off the back of yesterday's game as well, that maybe Foden didn't force himself upon the play in terms of the action. Maybe he needed to put himself more about himself, right? And you've just put as comments a bit like Lamps and Gerrard. Yeah, they did try and just butcher that together, didn't they? Lampard, Gerrard, Scholes subsequently having to play on that left-hand side. There was no balance there, was there? And that was the problem. Also stops Kane dropping. This is a very good point there, Steve. I do think maybe from a balance perspective, I don't know if they got the individual players got it wrong, but certainly from a point of view of tactics-wise, Southgate was very slow at responding, wasn't he? It was too slow, in particular for that second half. I think he kind of invited that Serbian pressure, and it was asking for maybe another 10 minutes, and I reckon Serbia get a goal in that match. I think if there was another 10 more minutes to be played, it would have been Dusan, wouldn't it? Would have had to have been Dusan. Ironically, I was calling it out in one of the WhatsApp groups, saying that first half we saw Dusan Vlahovic from Juventus, where he was just taking his time, being lethargic on the ball, maybe not being his clinical self. Second half looks a different animal, didn't he? I don't know if the Mitrovic effects as well played a part in that as well, because when Mitrovic came off, he didn't really offer too much, did he? Mitrovic, I was expecting a bit more kind of forceful play from him, maybe causing himself a bit of a nuisance in terms of the overall game, how it played out. But I think to England's benefit, they did quite well. Mark Guehi playing quite well. I think he had a good game personally. Question marks over, I would say, from a left back perspective. We knew that was going to be the issue. Kieran Trippier is just a stopgap. He's not going to fill in well. And as you say, Steve, Serbia were poor for the players they have. Came out a bit more in the second half, I would say, but not drastically better, were they? I didn't think they were that imperious in that respect. I didn't think England had to worry at times. I think it will be fascinating when England have to play someone of a better quality, how they would react, right? And as you point out, Sergej Milinkovic-Savic was poor compared to Lazio edition. Certainly was. Certainly wasn't his usual self, was he? I mean, this is the problem. A lot of people that watch Serie A and say these players are so good, and then they get highlighted at these tournaments and they just disappear. But fortunately, he was chasing the dollar, wasn't he, when he went to Saudi? And it's fascinating how his career is going to pan out now, because no one's going to remember him for what he could have been, right? Steve, you saw the best out of him at Lazio as well. There's a lot of talk about him. He should have got himself a big move in Italy. Who knows where he could be these days? We're just about to approach the 25-minute mark. Still 0-0 here between Austria and France. I'd say on the whole, France have been the more aggressive here. They just need to take one of these chances. Really just lacking a bit here. Steve Cole here. I think a lot of teams are suffering because they are going to Saudi. Yeah, I think you mean the players, don't you? Yeah. And other lesser leagues. Yeah. I think that's going to have an impact in terms of players going out to Saudi, thinking that it will be a better league eventually down the long-term route. But it's a bit like when Oscar went to China, right? Went there for the money. The likes of Hulk went down there, didn't they? We never heard from them really ever since. We saw them finish off their contracts and then completely disappeared off the face of it. Oscar was an interesting one as well because he was in the Brazilian national squad, doing well for Chelsea, I'd say, arguably. I think there was, rumours at the time, potentially him joining Barcelona, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, just disappeared. As we're seeing N'Golo Kante get fouled on the edge of his own area. It's free kick to the French. Be interesting, actually, for those that are watching, how many of you think France are going all the way? Because France are my favourites. I think they will go all the way. That does mean inevitably that if they come across England, I'm thinking they will beat them. On this showing, I would say, yeah, I'm pretty safe on that assumption as it currently stands. French just looks so much more fluid at the moment, and the depth is just unreal. But we know the French have got their moments in them as well. I'll be curious actually how many people are rethinking about maybe Germany's performance against Scotland. I know it was only Scotland, but at times it was terrifying, those attacks, in particular Musiala. Incredible. Interesting point here by Steve. It's the Euros where there is no clear favourites. And to a degree, I think a lot of the French fan base aren't too sure about their team's credentials. They've been kind of talking up the likes of England, to be fair, Steve. They've been talking up maybe Portugal as well. I think Portugal are good option there as well. Spain, less so this time around. Maybe they think they're still in the transition phase. Lamine Yamal, that performance the other day against Croatia. Croats were chasing his shadows, weren't they, for that match? Absolutely incredible. Stevie Cole here. Scotland gave so much respect. Other teams would do that. No other team would do that, sorry, should I say. Yes. Far too open. Far too narrow as well for a 3-5-2 formation as well. Or was it 3-4-3-1, something like that? Yeah. It was a dreadful game from a Scotland perspective. I was expecting them to have a bit more fight. They were always not going to have the same qualities as the German national side. But what I would say is, yeah, Steve Clarke didn't really read the game very well, did he? I was calling it on the watch along with Rory that I think after they went 2 down, they needed to change formation, go to 4-4-2, get that support up with Shea Adams at the time. They needed to change the formation. I know a lot of Scots have said that they're much more comfortable with a 3 at the back, or if they do play in a formation, it's a 5. But on that evidence, I don't know. They just, if anything, yeah, Steve's saying defended so deep so they could not get out. That's very true. Uncle Sharma, nice having you on. Thuram hasn't done too much, to be brutally honest, mate. More of a physical presence than anything. We haven't seen kind of the flick-ons that he does for Inter Milan yet, but still early days. It's still quite open relatively, but France, I would say, very much on top, sir. They are carving their opportunities. They're waiting for their moments. The intricate 1-2 touches. They're controlling the ball for the majority. Just Marcus hasn't really got his foot into the game just yet. He's just literally, as we're speaking now, actually forcing himself to get a touch. He's got fouled in the process by Kevin Danso. I think the game is being stopped now as we speak. But yeah, Uncle Sharma, I'm saying, yeah, give it maybe another 10, 15 minutes. We might see something. The French have had some set plays so far, but they've not really got them on target to someone's head right now. And I think that's the disappointment, that despite the dominance, they haven't really done too much in that final third yet. So let's wait and see. Austria have done admirably well at this stage. They haven't conceded. They've done okay. They've had their little moments as well, but they haven't really threatened as much as we anticipated. I knew this was going to be a tight game from their perspective. But as we speak, Antoine Griezmann just chasing down the ball. That sums it up, if anything. We talk about maybe sometimes the lack of grit or, fight from this French squad. That shows me that there's plenty of fight and determination there. I think when you think about this quality, the depth that they've got, even Rabiot's having a good game there, Uncle Sharma. He's already been breaking up the play, creating those touches, 1-2 touches that have set them up on their moves. Even Teo Hernandez, mate, I know you don't like me uttering those words given he's a Milanista, but yeah, he is doing something there as well. So, guys, let me know your thoughts so far if you are watching along as well. What do you think so far? Do you think I've read this wrong? Or generally, are we just waiting for a goal here? Are we waiting for a goal to break this and open it up? As I say, from my selfish point of view, I'm hoping this will be fascinating from a Polish perspective. Doesn't give me much optimism, I'll be brutally honest. Poland got in the next game, got to play Austria. It's a game that, in typical Polish football history, we kind of say the first game full of optimism, then it's the game to survive in the tournament, and then the last game is game for pride. So let's see what happens in the next game after this result, I'm sure. Rabiot's play well as he's a free agent. Very true there, Steve. He is a free agent. However, I don't think he's played very well for Juventus this season. So as long as those scouts haven't seen him at Juventus, then people are going to assume that he's a good player. And to come con MUFC for ridiculous free contracts. I'm pretty sure there is something being uttered around Man United potentially signing Rabiot. I know Spurs were linked with him, Steve. So this is the fascinating bit as well. I can't believe that Spurs would want him, but you never know. He might be tempted. I'm surprised Chelsea haven't thought about it, to be honest. They could bring him in, sell him off for a profit, given their situation, right? They need someone to clear the books before the 30th of June, by all accounts. We'll wait and see if that actually ever happens. Dembele just drawing a foul out of Philip Mueni, and that is a yellow card to Mueni. So Griezmann has got a free kick just near the byline here. So this is an interesting situation for the French. He hammers it quite low, but it gets cleared out to Dembele. Dembele gets intercepted, and Austria are now on the counter-attack. However, not many of them up front, but they are doing quite well. Gregorit's just there. Lima is going to receive the ball now. He heads it in the direction, but Mike Maignan is too fast for them. So, Steve, cool. You've just given me a question. Lewandowski, will he be fit? Well, there was a video leaked earlier today. You'll see it. Something I retweeted on my Twitter account. He is practicing with the ball. By all accounts, reading the Polish press, Steve, the expectation is he will be playing against Austria in the next round of games. So, high hopes. The fact that he's kicking a ball is promising. And And yeah, I'd be curious actually what your thoughts were. Did you think Poland played well without him? This has always been the question mark about the Polish national team. We will have to adapt to life after Lewandowski. Inevitably, I think this will be his last tournament. He hasn't said it's going to be his last tournament, but we anticipate this to be his last tournament. I thought it'd be after Qatar he would have gone, but he was still with us, which was to a degree a godsend because we need him. Oh, Austria through. Gregoritz. Oh, what a save by Mike Maignan. What a save there, people. Cannot believe that has just happened. And it wasn't Gregoritz, it's Baumgartner. Just getting the through ball there from Sabitzer. What a save. Now, on the replay, I think, yeah, that definitely hit Mike Maignan. Wow, just edges past the post as well. Literally, that is absolutely incredible. He needed to come out, make himself big, but what an effort. And wasn't given as a corner, which I was surprised at, unless there was that deemed to be offside? I didn't see the flag go up for that, but French have restarted. What an effort there. What an opportunity for Austria as well. Against the run of play. Wow. But yeah, in short, Steve, Lewandowski will be there for the Austria return game, should I say, in the second round of games. So yes, we shall see. The French holding on to the ball so far in the Austrian half. Got about 9 minutes of normal play to play before it goes into half time. Posh holding off Thuram quite well there. Fair play to him. I think Lever has become less mobile would sacrifice for someone less, but could bring on as a super sub. This is the dilemma that we've got right now, I'd say, that he is a phenomenal striker. He's at the twilight of his career, right? Still, I mean, look, when you take his domestic season, he's scored 19 goals, the fewest that he's ever scored in a domestic club season yet. He is still a great striker to have. Oh, and it's an own goal. Sounded very Partridge, didn't I, just then? But own goal by Woba, unfortunately. A quick cross by Mbappe. And Maximilian Woba has headed home for France. Own goal from Austria. Austria will be devastated there. Absolutely devastated. They were doing quite well up until that point. Originally, Dembele trying to get the ball into the box. It kind of bounced and ricocheted, went in direction of Mbappe. Mbappe trying to cross it where Griezmann was hovering, and Woba has just tried to nick it ahead of him, thinking that it's going to be enough to just divert it away. It's just crept into the net. And as you said, Steve, good finish. Definitely a good finish. I'd be proud of that, that's for sure. I'd be proud of that. But yeah, not what the Austrians needed right now. It was coming though, right? We knew it was coming because it was just the fact that France hadn't got that final touch, really, did they? So, 1-0 France. Let's see how this changes the dynamic of the game. Do Austria now come at the French, or do they keep to their kind of disciplined shape? I don't think they necessarily haven't been trying, but they're going to need to come out of their shells a bit more. The question mark is, do you try and go for it now before half time, or do you just wait and play as much as you can up until half time, hope that you regroup, get some drink down you, have a word with your man, and maybe he changes it up? It looks like Gregoritz has gone down, perhaps. Yeah, he got fouled in the process by N'Golo Kante. Sabit's having a few words with the referee, maybe about that contact, debating whether that was a card. Don't think Poland should force an unfit leather. Reminds me of Rooney. Yeah, it's an interesting one, Uncle Sharma. I think with the Lewandowski scenario, he kind of just collapsed, really. He just felt something go. By all accounts, though, they seem quite confident that it's not something that they've had to force because they've given him the rest in the previous game against the Netherlands. So the fact is he has been training last few days. He's been kicking with the ball today. There was a video that came out of the camp. That looks promising to me. I've always said for a while, though, Uncle Sharma, I feel like Poland needs to kind of transition past Lewandowski. We need to start playing with other players in his role. Adam Books, look, I love him because he adds a different dynamic to our game. He's not a Lewandowski, but he's a target man, right? For international football, it's not about having the kind of skilled players like your Lewandowski sometimes. And we've not been able to sometimes deliver the service that Lewandowski craves, really. Be actually curious. I don't know, Uncle Sharma, if you did watch the Poland game, but what was your thoughts on Zielinski? Obviously, he'll be joining you guys. I've always said to you, I think private message wise, that I think he'll do quite well for you guys. In that rotation as well. When you think about Mkhitaryan, Aslani as well, it'll be interesting to see whether he'll progress this season. Corner for Austria as we speak, by the way. Kevin Danso unable to get his header from Sabitza's corner on target. Kind of spins off his head. But Austria have got a throw-in nearer to the halfway line. It has to be added. But yeah, Uncle Sharma, Zielinski, I didn't think he was overweight. I remember a tweet that you shared. I think it was either yourself or someone else that kind of pointed out that maybe Zielinski had put on some weight since he's been exiled at Napoli. But for the Polish national side, I've always felt that he's had good energy about him, but just maybe not necessarily the end product. Yeah, this is the question mark that has been going round. Did we need to sub him off? And was there any grounds for him to be subbed off? That didn't look great. And as you allude to, yeah, he was fit from what I could see. I've seen. I think it's probably unflattering on polls. We don't necessarily look like that we've lost any weight. Let's put it that way. We've got a chubby complexion sometimes, with the exception of Lewandowski. That looks like an absolute beast, doesn't he, with his flex of muscles. But yeah, we are literally like the Hungarian striker, Adam, pretty much. Yeah, I love that guy, by the way. No dissing of that guy. I love when we can see a man that probably doesn't look like he's a sports person, but he actually is. And it's dreadful to hear how he's taken to social media comments. He said it got him a bit down when he saw remarks about his kind of physical kind of weight being used up in posts. But I think it's great that we've got these little stories in tournaments, right? We miss those characters like Gabo Corrali in his pajama bottoms at tournaments like this. We need these characters in the game. But we're about to enter the last 2 minutes of this half before some added injury time. What's your thoughts, guys? What do you think so far? Austria, slightly disappointing, do we think? Or do we think France have just completely dominated the game so far? And it does look like it, hasn't it? It's just been a question mark over France opening up the opportunities. Uncle, what did you think about Italy as well, by the way? Despite the setback after 23 seconds, thought that showed a lot of maturity for them to come back into the tie and win the game overall. I know in the second half it was not a lot to write about, shall we say. But Albania really did apply themselves and a bit unlucky towards the end. Yeah, if it wasn't for Donnarumma, we could be talking about potentially a draw that day. But there's a big game on Thursday against the Spanish as well. That will be a fascinating tie. As we speak, France are just about. It looks like they're about to counter. Griezmann feeds in a delightful ball for Mbappe. I think that's a bit overrun, however. Yeah, Mbappe didn't do quite well. Yes, Barella did look like he was much more comfortable in the Italian Azzurri colours, didn't he? It's been a while. I haven't watched Italy for a while, but it's been a while since I've seen Barella take good authority of that midfield. He really was all over the pitch, I felt. He was so assured in everything that he did on the day. And just looked a class above the rest. That was my overriding thoughts on Barella. Calafiori as well. I know there's been a lot of remarks in the Italian press about how the ex-pros thought he was like almost like a pro that played for ages. Yeah, have a good one, Uncle Sharma. Have a good one. And as we speak, that is half time. So there we go. 1-0 to France, courtesy of an own goal by Maximilian Werber. I would say on the grand scheme of things, France well deserving of that as we go into half time. Austria, a lot more to work on. There's a lot that they have to improve on. Potentially that kind of build-up play into the box is going to be critical here. And that is the big thing, I would say, for Austria. But they're still within the tie itself. They're not going to potentially lose this too quickly. They just need to have a little bit more conviction in their play, certainly in the second half. And actually, I think maybe they need to put two up top. I don't know what you guys think, but I think they absolutely need to maybe mix it up. And that's my overriding thoughts for that half of football. Listen, guys, I am going to take a quick breather. I'm going to quickly just play some transitions in the meantime. Do me a favor whilst you're on YouTube. If you haven't already subscribed to us, that would be really appreciated. If you can, give us a like to this stream. Appreciate any questions. Let us know. Maybe some talking points for the second half as well. But I'm going to leave you with some transition while I get myself a drink, sort myself out, and I will join you 5 minutes before the second half starts. So I'll see you guys on the other side. We are back for the second half. So, guys, get your questions as we go along. If you're watching on Instagram or happen to be on Twitter or X as they call it these days, and you want to get involved, find the live stream on YouTube and get your comments along. The only reason being is that for some reason we're not getting your questions come through. So appreciate if you could just dial onto the YouTube channel. If you haven't already subscribed, that'd be really appreciated. Otherwise, a like to this actual watch along will be also something that will go a long way in helping us as well in terms of our kind of goals. We've got modest goals. As you can see, we don't have many followers really with our channel. So anything you can do will be really appreciated. But more importantly, let's enjoy this second half. Get your predictions in as well. What did you make of Austria? Do you think they're going to come out and maybe play a bit more? It certainly looks like they've got the attacking mindset at the moment. And yeah, France about to kick off with Kylian Mbappe. And there we go. Second half starts. And yeah, it looks like Konrad Laimer is giving a little bit of a chase towards this French team. So is the rest of the Austrian team. They are trying to make the French have a lot of mistakes in the process. Just seen a incident on the bylines. This looks like Maximilian Wober has just knocked off Anton Griezmann into the side hoardings right now. I think that's just more strength. He didn't intentionally try and hurt him, although Griezmann's just got a nasty little cut to his forehead right now. Now, this will be fascinating, actually, because Wober obviously got himself a yellow card in the first half. If this gets pulled up, will they do anything? I don't anticipate them pulling it up. I think it's just going to be accidental, really. Sunday League badge there. Indeed, there, Stevie Cole. Nothing wrong with it as far as I'm concerned. If anything, what was Griezmann doing in that position, right? Anyway, Austria are looking a lot more attack-minded. They are definitely enforcing themselves on this game right now. And they are firmly in the French half. This is going to be a fascinating second half by the look of things. Ralf Rangnick has clearly had a word with the Austrian side. They probably paid maybe a bit too much respect to the French, allowing them to have time on the ball. The ball is in the French box right now. Stefan Posch there, blasting his effort far over, allowing Griezmann to come back onto the pitch now. But yeah, nothing wrong with that push, was there? Anyway, where were we? Stevie, what do you think about how England approach the next game? Given that they've got Denmark probably need to get a win to keep their hopes up for qualifying out of this group stages. It's not going to be an easy game, but Denmark weren't spectacular against Slovenia, were they? Oh, Griezmann's bandage already come off his head. No, you can't be asked to put it back on. This is an interesting one. If I were Denmark, would play Skov, Olsen, and Damsgaard. Now, Damsgaard's an interesting player. I've always thought after that Euro performance that he was going to push on. Obviously, we knew him from his days at Sampdoria, but got that move to Brentford, and there was me thinking with Thomas Franks he might push on with his career, but it hasn't really worked out that way, has it? Really, to be honest. So Damsgaard, one of those that I don't know how Denmark kind of go about it. I mean, Eriksen's starting to look quite good, isn't he, as well? He seems to be a better player when he plays for Denmark than he does naturally for Man United or his club sides, to be honest. But I'm just trying to remind myself of that squad that they've got here at this tournament as well. Because I'm sure, if I remember rightly, they have got... obviously, Højbjerg is going to be one of their kind of key plays in that midfield. That's against England in particular going to be quite critical, right? Because of his experience, then the fact that he knows the players that he'll be playing against as well. Just trying to remind myself, actually, how did they play against Slovenia again? Just taking an age to load up. Don't know why, but there you go. Typical. Is the strike you're thinking of, Stephen Cole? I'm just coming back onto the live stream. Tall strike that came on, like Yusuf Paulson. Is it that one you're thinking of? The one that plays for RB Leipzig these days. Because they've obviously got Kasper Dolberg as well. Another option that Denmark have is Norgard as well, who currently plays for Brentford, and Hulmund, who plays for Sporting Lisbon. You may recall, Steve, he played for Lecce last season. So, yeah, big one there. Yes, Poulsen. I've always been impressed by Poulsen, but he hasn't got the most spectacular of goal-scoring records, to be honest. Austria just getting the ball into the French half now. They just had it in the box. They crossed it in, but they just couldn't get the ball on target. And now Marcus Thuram has just gone the other end. He could do well, potentially. He could potentially chip this, but he doesn't. He manages to hold on to the ball, retain possession, gave it to Mbappe. And as you will guess, Austria inevitably get enough bodies behind. So but yeah, back to your kind of piece, Steve Cole, about Denmark. I don't really know. They might have to just keep with who they've got, I would say, in argument's sake. Because they haven't got maybe that bad a kind of lineup when I'm looking at the squad at the moment. Yeah, my doubts are on Damsgaard, whether he's the Damsgaard that we know. Skov Olsen, Jakob Brown Larsen, the one that was, I'm thinking this is the Brown Larsen that was at Burnley, is it? Yeah, it is Jakob Brown Larsen. He had a fantastic season. Now he can play on those sides, can't he, as well? So he can play both left and right hand side, even though he's more predominantly a left hand sided player. I think he could offer a bit more dynamic kind of play from a Danish perspective. So, yeah. And Mbappe is through on goal, and he has somehow missed that. How on earth did he miss that? Wow. We just watching the review of that. So Rabiot does fantastically well. Mbappe gets the better of Danso. All Mbappe has to do is slide it past the Austrian keeper, and somehow he's got on the other side of the post. Wow. The one man that you least expect to do that. At the other end, Austria have now got themselves a free kick on the edge of the area. Dembele giving a needless kind of push. When is it? Duame? It's a Mwene, sorry. Mwene. Yeah, he didn't need to do that. He should have just kept running with him. He would have got the ball back off him. Wow, we've had some action for once. We have had some action here. So Sabitzer lines up. It's going to be a corner. It ricochets off. I think it's Konate. It's a corner taken here. Sabitzer again, but it's over hit. And it's comfortable for Rabiot, who's just going to let the ball run out. And there we go. This is going to be fascinating. Steve Cole has made a really good point here. If the comments will let me drag it in. This is in relation to Mbappe missing an absolute sitter. If you haven't already seen so, actually misses quite a lot. He gets so many chances at PSG you wouldn't notice, but they might notice at Real. I think they will notice when he sees it for the amount of chances. Now, I remember there was a period where there was that kind of Mbappe Haaland debate, who was the better striker at the time, and I was of the opinion that Haaland was far more proficient in terms of in front of goal. Yes, he could still miss himself, right? But Mbappe, for all those kind of moments that he has, he can drag players with his pace. He can really cause himself and become a menace. But in front of goal, you are right. He completely misses more often than not. That's the one part of his game that you think he's played so handsomely well, but he never seems to improve in terms of his ability. And like you say, Stephen Cole, I think it'll be fascinating to see whether when he gets that kind of season in at Real Madrid, whether it starts getting highlighted a lot more and whether he'll have to start working on those finishing. Because with the likes of Endrick coming into the fold, we obviously know about Rodrigo and Vinicius Jr. as well. It's going to be difficult. And then not forgetting about Jude Bellingham as well. So Real Madrid are building some phenomenal side, aren't they, at the moment? Arda Güler as well, another hotly anticipated player as well. Substitutes now for Austria as we speak. So Wober just coming off there. Gregoritz is coming off for Arnautovic. And I'm just seeing who the other player was. Grilic is coming off as well. And players in. So we've got Trana and Wimmer. So I expect Arnautovic is going to cause himself a nuisance up top. Wimmer will kind of maybe make it a bit more firmer in that kind of right-hand side. Does look like they've played around with it as well, with Grilic as well coming off on that left-hand side, as I mentioned. Sabitzer still holding into that central role as well. So it will be fascinating to see how this plays out. Little Ibra is on. Yeah, he certainly does look like a little version, doesn't he? But he's on the ball. He's on the ball, Stephen Cole. And maybe not the Ibra that we were thinking of, right? Not skill-wise. Stefan Posch here is pushing on, though. That is the one comment that I will make, that Stephen Posch or Stefan Posch, he's starting to be a lot more in their half. He's offering that width at the moment. He's the one that is peering at the back post more often than not. So Ralf Rangnick is going for this. He can sense that he can get something out of this game. We're on the 60th minute mark, guys. Get your questions as we go along. If you're on Twitter or X or Instagram, you'll have to join us on YouTube to get those questions in, because for some reason we're not able to read them on those other platforms. So please join us on YouTube. Get your questions as we go along. And Dembele there just wasting an opportunity. And Austria start again. Austria, again, having the momentum, it feels. It's certainly shifting. Like France, not knowing really what to do. I don't think they've ever been at these kind of tournaments where they've had a lot of pressure, right? They've always got away with it. Arnautovic, is that? Or Sabitzer? Sabitzer just pushed down by Konate. He's appealing for a penalty. He's looking for a penalty. The referee's not looking to give anything there. Right, Saliba and Konate both kind of collided together. Yeah, Sabitzer's looking for it. He went down a bit too easy there. I didn't necessarily see anything wrong with that. Let me know if you guys think otherwise, but I don't think I saw anything wrong with that. Mike Mannion to take the goal kick. We go again. Austria are again in the French half. Arnautovic now having the ball on the edge of the area. What can he do? French here, not really used to defending, are they? I'm looking at how they kind of spread themselves out and yeah. They're not used to tracking their players. That's all I would say. The midfield looks very disjointed at the moment. Maybe this is the kind of glimmer of hope for teams that are looking to play against the French. Sorry, Stephen Cole, your comments seem to have come through. Clumsy challenge, but no pen. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, French for me, in that transition just then, proved that actually, if you put pressure on them, they seem to really do struggle to keep hold of their markers. Is that because they've got very attacking-minded players, so therefore they struggle? And as Stephen Cole has mentioned just here, Mbappe and Dembele do not track back at all, pretty much. I saw Mbappe just towards the end run back into his half. Dembele really didn't know what to do, did he? But what was interesting was actually seeing like even the likes of Rabiot, for example, Stephen Cole, who we know would have had a lot of experience under the Allegri style football. Not really doing too much. He was floating around, but he wasn't necessarily keeping hold of his markers. He wasn't keeping an eye. Anton Griezmann as well, probably not used to doing too much of the tracking with Atletico. I think he's given a bit more freedom there. So that is an opportunity for teams that are going to play the French. I think, if anything, that you can see from this is that there's an opportunity. There's something that you can get at them for it. That's for sure. Right, corner to Austria. A bit of a tussle at the moment. Arnautovic causing himself a bit of a nuisance for William Saliba there with Marcus Thuram, his teammate at Inter, keeping him at arm's length as well. Let's see what happens here. Poor corner from the named little version of Ibra. Sabitzer doing really well just to delay that ball by a second. N'Golo Kante has possession of the ball. He's in the Austria half now, trying to get the ball across, which he manages to do, but Austria have got numbers back in now, and they clear their lines. But as we say that, France have regained possession on the halfway line. Theo Hernandez, and he goes down that left-hand side. He's got the ball. Oh, just needed a touch. Anton Griezmann dives in. Just needs a touch there. The ball is dragged back to Jules Koundé, but he can't get his real shot on effort. And the ball is recycled by Sabitzer, who now hits it more in hope, I think, to the little version of Ibra, who's doing quite well there. Stephen Cole, even though we're giving him that tagline, he's doing okay. Approaching this almost the 70th minute mark now. If you're France, do you start to look to change the shape of this team? Do you look to bring on some players, or do you give it another 5-10 more minutes? At the moment, it doesn't look like Deschamps is looking to change it, and Marcus Thuram has just had a shot which has superbly been saved and pushed away, which Austria now able to push their men out, but France have still got possession. Cross into the box. Cleared out. We've got Rabiot recycling the ball to Jules Koundé. Jules on the left or right hand side. Konate recycles it to William Saliba, and Saliba to Theo Hernandez on that left hand side now. Stephen Cole says, would you use wide players? Koundé is not right back and Theo wants to play left wing. That is for sure. That is for sure. What would you do for that right-hand side then? Would you take off Koundé and maybe look at putting someone like Benjamin Pavard, perhaps? Just thinking, who else have France got on that bench that we mentioned earlier today? I mean, from a left back position, you got Ferland Mendy, who's more adapted from his Real Madrid kind of exploits. Just struggling to see anyone of a right back persuasion, to be honest, there. Maybe a Kingsley Coman, but I don't think that's naturally a position that he would be at home at, really. Barcola could be on the right wing, but I don't think he would do much in a defensive mind. But certainly, I would maybe put him in place of Dembele to stretch the game out in, say, the last 10 to 15 minutes of this game. Having said that, thinking about it, Steve, we have even seen Camavinga play in a left back position, haven't we? We've seen him do that before. Could he do a right back position? I'm sure he's adaptable, that he could do that position really well if he wanted to. Let's see. What about the rest of you that are watching right now? Get your thoughts in as we go along. Remind you, if you're trying to get your comments in on Twitter or X or Instagram, please join us on YouTube and get your thoughts in as we go along. We're just about to approach this 70th minute mark, so we're entering in the last 20 minutes of the game. And just on that point about Camavinga, Stephen Cole comes back, would be wasted at left back, should be playing in front of Rabiot. Certainly should be playing instead of Rabiot in my eyes. And as we speak, though, Kolo Muani and Camavinga are being lined up. Dembele looks like he's going to be substituted for Kolo Muani, which not surprising, potentially, given the way that Dembele's got that yellow card. You don't want to be risking that at this stage, not certainly to go down to 10 men, that's for sure. That's probably playing on the thoughts. And Rabiot coming off for Camavinga, which I think will give the French a lot of hope, given Rabiot's performance. He's not done too badly tonight. But certainly Camavinga just adds that energy, doesn't he? A little bit more now in the middle of the park. He can add a bit more a sense of quality in that final third as well when needed to. So there you go. We were talking about it. We got our wishes. We got the change made. So this will be interesting to see. Do they change their kind of formation now? Do they shore it up a bit more given that? And I'm just reading this by looking at the formation. It looks like Griezmann, Mbappe, and now Colomwani take up the front three role. Potentially with Griezmann dropping into a number 10 role there by the look of things. Camavinga is certainly more playing on that left-hand side, giving that support to Theo. We've got Kante in that middle. I'm just trying to think who else was there in that squad right now. So we've still got Jules Koundé on there, Upamecano, Saliba and Theo at left back, and Mike Maignan still. So let's see how this changes the dynamic of the game. Theo running down the left-hand side now as we speak. Pulling it across. And he's just created some opportunity there to Marcus Thuram, but his effort is hit way over. Thoughts on Marcus Thuram at the moment? He's not had too many opportunities, has he? Does he need to enforce himself a lot more on the game itself? A bit similar to that argument about Foden. Are they playing to his strengths, though? I'd argue possibly not. Looking at the way that Marcus Thuram is being deployed as well, he's much more deep on that left-hand side now. He's clearly doing it for the team aspect, keeping Mbappe and Griezmann as being the kind of maybe people at the top. Overhit there. Very much so. Overhit by Patrick Wimmer. It's almost like it's petered off a little bit for Austria. Feels like they could do with an extra man now, just to give a bit more energy. Because they've certainly been a lot sharper in this second half. They've taken the game a lot more to Austria, to France, should I say. But they just need a bit more energy up top. They need to force the issue, whereas now France have started to solidify that middle bit now. We're slowly approaching the last 15 minutes of the game here. Just a foul on Wimmer by Griezmann, but Griezmann looks like he's the most in pain here. I don't know how he's done this, but he's grazed his knee in the process. It's probably taken a bit of a whack there from Wimmer in the process, but Austria with the free kick from Wimmer. Mike Maignan was just catching air there. He kind of clawed it out, but Austria have the ball in their half with no pressure from the French team as they kind of recollect themselves. Reminder that Austria are losing here 1-0 to France, courtesy of an own goal by Wober, Maximilian Wober, who tucked away neatly Kylian Mbappe's cross, who's meant to clear it. went into the bottom corner of the net in the first half, 38th minute. And here got some delightful ball played into Posh's direction, but Theo Hernandez clears his lines. So it's a throw in for the Austrians. Quick ball to Wimmer. Let's see what we can do here. Gets the ball into the box. However, it's way over here. Goes out for a goal kick. It's quite disappointing, isn't it, really? You're entering the last 15 minutes now. It's 14 minutes technically now. But you want to be getting the ball into your men that are in the box. Don't try and speculatively try and hit it there. Marcus Thuram doing quite well, but losing the ball in the process. Ends up to Colomwani. Griezmann, and now Koundé releases it very quickly to Colomwani, who takes his man, Danso. Danso does really well to recover, in fairness, and it's a free kick to the Austrians. Let's have a look at this comment, and from Stevie Cole. Surprised Upamecano is playing, to be honest. Eric Dyer was keeping him out of the buy-in side. Yes. I did read a bit about this. Now, it's fascinating. Deschamps doesn't really fancy Saliba. He openly admitted it in a press conference, and he's very much an old school kind of guy when it comes to the centre-back partnership. So his ideal is Konate and Upamecano. So based on the fact that I think Konate picked himself a bit of an injury, he's been forced to hand to play Saliba. I think Saliba's had a very solid game. He hasn't had to do too much here tonight, to be brutally honest. And I think that's the point that I'm trying to allude to with this Austria side, that they're not really forcing themselves down that middle. They haven't got anyone really to target. Having said that, they're starting to play something intricate in the box now. Oh, just well taken by Mike Maignan. He's had to dive in there, and he's got the feet into the chest by Baumgartner. Baumgartner did really well to anticipate that. Fortunately, the ball was way too overhit, I would say. Just needed to be quite gentle, really, in terms of that process. Yeah, the ball was overhit there by Sewald, I think it was. Sewald. Or was it Lima even? Just showing replays now, and yeah. 50-50 ball, no malice in it. Definitely wouldn't have been a thing. Definitely not a booking. Surely not a booking, really. I'm with you on this one, Stephen Cole. How is that a booking? It's a 50-50 ball. Both players are going for it legitimately. There's no harm intention. There's no, he's not trying to foul the player. He's just legitimately trying to get to the ball. That's ridiculous. Absolute joke. Exactly. And that's to the point. This is the point that Steve is making here. Where can he put his feet? His only intention is looking at the ball. He's not looking at anything else. He doesn't know that Mike Maignan is necessarily going to put his head where his feet is. He's not anticipating that. He's not trying to go out there to foul him. Ridiculous. Absolute ridiculous. Anyway, guys, that's probably added about 2 minutes in terms of injury time to play. We are entering now the last 10 minutes of the game in normal time. So let's see how this pans out. France on the counter-attack, but ball bounces. It's given as a French throw-in now. Back to your point, though, Steve, around Upamecano. Yeah, the piece is Didier Deschamps would have probably preferred to have had Konate in place of Saliba. Saliba, he openly admitted that he didn't like him. Doesn't like the way he plays, was the phrase that he used. And yeah, very quite clear here that he's had to have his hands forced. But look, Saliba's had a fantastic season for Arsenal. I don't know what more he can do to really force himself into this French squad. And a foul's being given against Wimmer here. Don't quite know. No, it's not a foul, is it? It's just the ball's bounced into the referee. So it's a drop ball. Marcus Thuram here with Griezmann. Colin Warney trying to thread Griezmann back in the box, but Griezmann doesn't anticipate it, and it allows Austria to counter-attack here. But however, Baumgartner loses the ball to, I think that was Saliba just then. Mbappe now at the other end after some good work from Camavinga. Camavinga now through, plays into Marcus Thuram, and that was potentially his opportunity. He tamely shot that. Lema here for Wimmer. Baumgartner's been fouled there. Come on, ref. Entering the last 8 minutes here, guys. Get your thoughts, questions as we go along. Not much longer to go of this watch along. And if you're new to our channel, appreciate if you can give us a sub and a like to this watch along. Anything you can do just to help us out, that'll be really appreciated. So thank you for joining us here as well. Many thanks to Stevie Cole here for his ongoing questions as well, mate. Really appreciate that. And that was poorly hit by the Austrians. They really need to work these set pieces a lot better. Koulibaly now getting the ball into Mbappe. Mbappe is just going to stretch the game, slow it down. He doesn't need to go at them that much. Takes on his man, draws a foul. Simple. Could be no arguments by Lema there. Yeah, look, stupid. Got his hand in his face. Showing a section of the crowd that has an appreciation for referees. There we go. Anyway, Griezmann to line up for this free kick with entering the last 5 minutes of normal time. Headed by Mbappe, but onto the ground rather than anywhere directionally. Oh, Kevin Wimmer takes it past his man and takes it past N'Golo Kante, but he gets a recovery just in time, just to nick it in terms of Mike Maignan. In the meantime, Marcus Thuram, I thought, was doing a juggling act. And then just showing some replay of Mbappe hitting his nose into the centre-back Danso's shoulder and coming off worse quite clearly there. Kevin Wimmer just being nicked there by N'Golo Kante. Right, I'm expecting at least another 10 minutes of injury time the way this is carrying on. Just showing some replays of Theo Hernandez's through ball to Anton Griezmann, who was unfortunately unable to get his foot onto the ball just then. Some replays of Kolomwani as well, having a shot on goal, but superbly saved by the Austrian keeper Pence. Now, based on protocol, I'd be saying, look, Mbappe just comes off here, right? Clearly, blood is flowing. And it looks like that's likely to happen. Fofana and Giroud now looking likely to come on as substitutes here. Oh, God. Kylian Mbappe's nose looks a bit disjointed there. Would not surprise me if we actually see Mbappe for the next match with a face mask of some sorts. So in the meantime, we also see a substitution for Austria. Moen has just come off for Pras. And it looks like that maybe the French didn't make their substitution. Did I see that right? Right. Despite the pressure from Austria, ball is cleared out by the French. We are entering the 88th minute right now. I'm expecting a minimum of 10 minutes of added injury time. Mbappe has brought himself on despite holding his nose. That nose did not look natural. I don't know about you guys. Ollie G coming on. He's got a few quid to sort it out. Now look, Mbappe's just put himself on the ground now. This is ridiculous. Didn't need to come on, did he? Just take him off. And actually, it looks like we've got a friend that's going to join us right now, potentially. Let me add him to the stream while this nonsense carries on here.
Here is a last-minute substitution, boys and girls. Hello, how are we doing?
Oh, mate, hello. If you can just play around with your audio a bit, we'll be able to hear you a bit less echoey as well. But I don't know if you've got like a live stream going on, mate. Kylian Mbappe's nose looks a bit disjointed. It looks a bit swollen. It's got 80s vibes, let's put it this way.
Is this sounding better now?
That sounds a bit worse, to be honest.
Worse? Well, that's not what we want.
This one?
No, definitely not.
This one?
That is the one. That is the one. Well done, mate.
Smooth, guys. Yeah, no, I've just finished my dinner. Sorry for joining late. All that, rolling around with Kylian. I was in between watching it on the TV and getting it on my phone. I assume he was kicked in the face or something. What happened?
No, what happened was the ball went into the box and he kind of misplaced his header. So it kind of went down to the ground rather than placed it anywhere worthwhile. And instead, he hit his head against Kevin Danso, the centre back for Austria's shoulder. So, yeah, didn't look too pretty, to be honest. At first, I thought it just like lots of blood coming out. I thought, it's just a nosebleed. But then they showed his nose. And, like when you've got that traditional centre back's nose,
like a rugby player.
Basically. So I'm expecting basically Kylian Mbappe to live up to his turtle nickname, right? And he'll have the full bandana.
He has to pick a colour, right? He has to lean into it and pick a colour. He has to. He can't not do that.
So that would be what? Donatello? Michelangelo? Who was your favourite?
Donatello was one with the two little swords, right? That was Donatello. I think he was one with the two little swords.
Was it?
I think he was my
I can't
favourite.
remember.
Yeah. Which one was your favourite?
Raphael. I think it was Donatello as well. I think it was Donatello.
Or the guy with the stick. It's been a long time since I watched it, guys. But I was talking to an Inter fan the other day who managed to get a hold of a shirt, the Inter shirt with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles logo, sponsor even, which I was very, very jealous of. Very jealous of.
As predicted, Rory, I said it was going to be 10 minutes of injury time. It is 9. That somehow
9 minutes.
On. So call it 8 now for Ralf Rangnick's Austria side to get themselves back into this match or get at least a point.
From what I've seen, they've not really offered much going forward. It's been very much attack versus defence for France, really.
Yeah, France have picked them off quite a bit at times, counter-attacking. I think Austria have been better in the second half, but they are lacking someone up top, to be brutally honest. They've got a lot of attacking-minded players, shall we say, but with very zero end products. I don't know if Stephen Cole will agree with me on that one and what his thoughts are generally, but from what I've been watching, I've not been overly impressed by this Austria side tonight. I think they a bit like, do you remember the Scotland match, Rory? Midweek,
I do, vaguely. I had a few too many beers, but I do remember it.
They paid too much respect. I think there was an element of that in the first half, and inevitably when the goal went in, that was it. Because at that point, actually, we were just waiting for France to do something with the end products. They were creating a lot of opportunities, but not the end products in the sense of creating a clear-cut chance. But yeah, and Stephen Cole has just put in there. If they have scored that chance in the first half, may have been different. Potentially, I would say I agree with that. But this is France, Rory. This is France, a team that have got a lot of quality, a lot of depth. Even from the bench, they've been playing around with it. They've kind of controlled at times where they've needed to. The intricate passing, as you can see with this move with Theo at the moment now, going into middle. They are just dragging out this team, the Austrian team, at times. And fair play to the Austrians. They're giving it a bit of a fight. However, it's just that lack of maybe a target man up top. That's what's
well, we've been talking about Arnautovic all season, right? And how underwhelming he's been for Inter. If he's your main option, then maybe you are struggling a little bit. From what the bits I have seen, I've just seen that Austria have been super physical, really. That's been their only real way of getting at France. I caught the moment where, was it Warber pushed Griezmann into the advertising hoarding for zero reason. I feel like that kind of set the tone for what Austria have been doing, really. It's just been trying to kick them, but they're obviously they're up against a side that's kind of levels ahead of them.
Wimmer is now this has been the story, as Stephen Cole gave him the elegant name of the little version of Ibra to Kevin Wimmer. He seems like offensively quite like he's got something about him, but then his end product's been a bit lacking at times, should we say. But yes, Arnautovic didn't start in this match. He came on as a sub, so he's obviously been added to give a bit more direction up top, but they haven't really got him into the game. And when they've got the crosses into the game, Rory, they haven't really been seeking the players. They've been speculating on players to kind of run in and do something about it. So almost feels like they need someone to be up there all of the time. Gregoritsch didn't really offer too much in that first half. Hence, he's been substituted. Look, I think Ralf Rangnick's tried to change it up as much as he can. He's put on 3 at the back, trying to put a bit more plays into that midfield to try and dominate the ball a bit more. But you can see, even with the banks that they've got right now, there's no clear striker at the moment. No one that's causing the likes of Saliba or Konate, or Upamecano even, anything to worry about, really. And Saliba, I have to say, he's had a really solid game here, Rory. Really solid.
I was absolutely delighted to see him start. I think his performance in the friendly against Canada kind of swayed it for Deschamps. I think he was finally impressed by him. And I'm just honestly, the second I saw that he was going to start, I was like, right, please don't make any mistakes now, William. Like, there's been a lot of Arsenal fans being very vocal about you starting. So I'm glad to see he's got through the game.
Just Oli Giroud there, miscuing his chance. Set up by Colomwani, who did superbly to run down the byline. Got the ball into Oli Giroud. And yeah, we were missing Milan's version of Oli Giroud. Maybe he's starting his LA Galaxy form now for this, or LAFC form, should I say. It's not LA Galaxy, is it?
He's properly miscued that, eh? His foot's gone completely over the ball.
Completely. Even my boy would do better on a Sunday than Oli Giroud. Maybe my boy will get that move one day. Maybe he will.
Playing out in Milan.
Stefan Posch here. He's offering himself. Corner given to Austria here.
That was a nice pass into the midfield. It cut out the entire French midfield there. That was a really nice pass in that move.
Well worked manoeuvre there. Yeah, got 2 touches there. Camavinga and Saliba. Right, this is their moment to shine. Little's version of Ibra to get the ball into the box. Can we see some drama here, Rory?
We can hope so. Maybe this is the moment Arnautovic shuts us up.
Inevitably, Austria play to the stereotype of what they've been doing all evening, and France are counter-attacking now. Marcus Thuram with, it looks like Colomwani in support, and N'Golo Kante. Marcus Thuram now holding up the ball just to waste time now.
Very sensible. That's lovely, sensible play.
Yep, he's doing superbly well, and the ball's been recycled by N'Golo Kante. They're going now into the corner, much to the displeasure of the Austrians, who have managed to recover it. One last attack from Austrians. That's all I can say. It looks likely that this could be the last attack now. Baumgartner having a chance to bits now on the ball. Let's see what happens.
Just seeing a replay of that Giroud miss. Jesus, yeah, he completely gets it wrong. And
yeah. Right.
For me, that's full time.
Yeah.
Well, for Austria, that was never going to be the game that decided their tournament, was it? If they'd have got a result, it would have been huge. A draw would have been a massive result. I still think a little bit underwhelming, as you said, attacking-wise, not offering a consistent threat at all. But, hey, to hold France to only 1-0 and it was an own goal, that's not bad going. That's not bad at all.
If anything, I think in the second half, we saw signs of how to get to this French squad. And cheers, Stevie Cool, for joining us. If you have to shoot off, thank you very much. Really appreciate you being here, joining me for this live stream watch along. But yeah, in summary, Rory, all I would say, there are signs to say you can get at this French squad. All you have to do is put them under pressure, because you've got a lot of the wide men, the attacking players, like your likes of Griezmann, for example, that don't seem to track back very well. They are, there to be got at. And that's promising signs for if an England was to face them again, that actually they have to just take the game to them. There's obviously going to be periods where the French will take the ball at you as well. They'll obviously displace you. The intricate passing was very evident here. Mm-hmm. But if you let them have too much of the ball, they will make you get punished, essentially. And I think that is ultimately the kind of overriding thought here, is that maybe you don't pay them too much respect. You pay them too much respect, they will inevitably, kill you off. And I think that that's the overriding thoughts, especially with the depth that they've got as well. Camavinga coming on, Kolomwani coming on. These are players that are in relative form for their clubs as well domestically. You got still Tushemeni, for example, that's not been put on in this game as well. So it's scary. Absolutely scary.
They could have picked two 26-man squads really with like decent quality. Like they could, the levels when you think about like the fact that I don't know, Michael Olise hasn't even made the squad. If you know what I mean, like the players that they have left
100%
at home. It's an incredibly deep pool that they're fishing from. So yeah, fair play to France. A good start for them. As England know, a 1-0 win, massive. It's just important to get the 3 points on the board, right? So the French are learning from the best, obviously.
exactly. But Rory, I think that is the end of this watch along. So many thanks to those that have been watching, the likes of Uncle Sharma and Stevie Cole for joining us in the comments section. And just a word for those that are watching or listening to us on Instagram and Twitter and X. Do us a quick favor, go on to YouTube, subscribe to our channel, give us a like to this live stream, as I've been kind of saying a few times as we've been going along. And that would be really appreciated. It goes a long way for us to help us grow as a channel as well. So many thanks for joining us if you have done so out of your warm-hearted soul that you are. So thank you very much for joining us. Me and Rory are going to bid you farewell for now. I know, Rory, it was a very short edition for you.
Sorry guys. This is going to be a trend throughout the tournament, I'll be honest. I finish my classes at 9 and I run home. So yeah, I'll be making quick cameos towards the end and asking Adam to fill me in, I think, for most of it.
It's all good. I'm better than the highlights package. There you go.
Well, exactly.
This is it. But much love. Join us tomorrow for the watch along. That'll be a good game as well. I'm not going to spoil it. You can have a look at the fixture list. You know what to do. Join us again, 7:45. We'll go into a little bit of a deep dive into both teams before we see kickoff through, and then we'll take it from there. So
beautiful.
We'll see you tomorrow. Take care, guys.
Bye, guys. Ciao. A dopo.